So I'm just now, ending up with a talk with a couple of policy-related things. One of my best, most cited articles was this 2007 article. It was an editorial in American Journal of Clinical Nutrition asking for a new RDA group to be established by the Institute of Medicine to review guidelines with regard to vitamin D, because at that time it was 200 to 400 units per day was recommended for you. 200 to 400. You're making 10,000 in sunshine. I had 14 co-authors, 14 people that I thought, oh, these are really powerful people in the vitamin D field. They know about it. One of the people I asked said, Reinhold, I don't want to put my name on that article because I'd like to be on a policy committee. And if I put my name on that, I'm not going to get on any committee. I thought, what a ridiculous thing. Come on. Just because you say you like something doesn't mean they're going to throw you off the committee. Well, the committee was formed and not one of the 14 people that I had as co-authors was on it. If you are an advocate for something and the government is taking a committee, they're not going to call you because you've already set your perspective. Well, at that time, just to keep it short, because I've got a few of these to go, the recommended dietary allowance set in 2010-11 was designed to keep your blood vitamin D test result higher than 20 nanograms per milliliter. Average Americans might have, 25 to 30 nanograms per milliliter, fine, but none of these people were on my group. I felt sorry for some of the ones I asked because I kicked them off of the ability to be on a committee. And the 2010 FDA committee said you shouldn't have vitamin D levels more than above 30 nanograms per milliliter because there's a double-blind placebo-controlled trial that says people who take vitamin D get more bone fractures. More bone fractures. Wait, I'm trying to reduce fractures or reduce the number of falls that they have. I misspoke, it's fractures. People who took vitamin D had more falls. They fell down more often than people who didn't. So that's one reason why in 2010 they kept the RDA relatively low. But actually look at the study that was the basis for that. And you know what they were doing? Once a year, they gave them 500,000 units of vitamin D. Can you imagine any other agent? Iodine, vitamin E, give me a nutrient, anything, once a year, take a dose. It's going to do you any good. I would say you overdose yourself once a year. And indeed, that's what happened. Because when they took this once a year dose, for the 3 months after the dose, there were more fractures and falls on a cyclic basis. Their vitamin D levels pulsated after every dose. And this is another form of toxicity. It's a more incidental, it's not hypercalcemia, but another adverse outcome. You can't cover all the bases, but sometimes there are reasons why bad things happen. So I'm saying you give a year's worth of anything, something will be a little bit excessive and you think foolish because they really haven't looked or thought through the science behind the model. Remember, I was showing you the enzyme kinetics for the vitamin D. You pulsate the 125 production. Okay, now comes the year 2011. Mike Hollick, who is a vitamin D advocate, was asked by the Endocrine Society of the United States to come up with a new guideline for physicians about vitamin D, cholecalciferol supplementation. And just to keep it short, they recommended enough vitamin D to keep your blood test result more than 30 nanograms per milliliter. The Institute of Medicine on the page before said 20 nanograms per milliliter. There's a kind of a difference between what's healthy. Okay, so the Endocrine Society in 2011 said 30 nanograms per milliliter. Lo and behold, this last April comes another Endocrine Society of the United States review. It was different. Oh my goodness. They lowered their target level back down to 20 nanograms per milliliter for endocrinologists to taking care of patients. What the heck is going on? Like the Endocrine Society goes one way, back another. Did I tell you that there's another Endocrine Society committee that also almost this simultaneously, this one was from Europe. It's a different group of people. And again, they're back to 30 nanograms per milliliter. I'm sorry to, share my frustration with this, but what are you or the public supposed to think? Or physicians, pick your recommendation. Do you want your blood test result to be 30, 20, 30, or 20? Like, what the heck? And here's my conclusion. If you want a committee to come up with a recommendation, be very careful about who you choose to be on that committee. If you don't want a high recommendation, do not select advocates. And I've talked about this with a colleague of mine who teaches at the business school. He says, oh yeah, everybody knows that. There's a nice paper by Myers and Lamb. Group discussion amplifies the a priori thinking of group members. In other words, okay, finally you got a committee. I chose that committee. I know who thinks what. And by talking about it, that committee actually amplifies. They justify each other on their presuppositions. And I just want to put in that little proviso thing at the bottom. If you want a committee to come up with a decision, think about what happened with your Supreme Court.